What's up, babes? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Maya if this is your very first time here. So today, y'all, we're gonna be doing more of a softer highlight and contour routine. I feel like my content, I try to give you guys looks or techniques that you can use on a regular basis, and I kind of just wanted to explain more of a soft highlight and contour vibe. So not that you gotta do this every day, that's not what I'm saying. I just want to give you some practical ways of looking at highlighting and contouring so that if you wanna, you know, slay the whole face every day, you can do that. We're also gonna be doing the eyes on camera as well because we got some color popping today. Before we hop into it, please make sure that you hit subscribe below if you have not yet so that you are updated when new videos come out. Also make sure that you hit that notification bell as well so that you are updated when new videos go up. All right, loves, let's hop into this tutorial. All right, y'all, so we are starting with the eyes. I already did like the color combination on this side already. We are priming with NARS, and this is in Chestnut, and I'm gonna blend it out with my sponge. And I actually did just do this one time and I messed up, so we're starting over. But I did not do my brows on camera. Like, I know my brows have been more of a fluffier brow, and I debated just waiting and doing my brows over the highlighting and contour since that was the focus. But I just feel like, especially since I use like the laminating products now, I just feel like putting that over my foundation and my concealer, it's like, is that gonna work out? I just feel like it's not gonna work out. So anyway, the brows are done. And I did use my Brow Down to Me pencil from Joa. You know, this is one of my favorites. If you don't know, this is one of my favorite brow pencils. I laminated them with Don't Play Brow Gel from OFRA. And then I sculpted them out with my NARS on my own. So I have this Puerto Rico palette right here from BH. And this is what I'm using today in my crease. I am setting the primer today since we are using all matte colors. When you're using all matte colors, I definitely recommend making sure that you set your primer to really get that color payoff that you want. And I'm going into this color here up in the corner first. And I am going to, in circular motions, just work this into my crease. I really want to take my time with this color though, because first of all, I'm probably using too big of a brush for this, honestly. I would recommend using one that's a little bit smaller than this. That way it's less of a chance for the color to go where you don't want it to go. But we are focusing this in the corner and building up that color. You could even stamp it like that to build up the color. And then I'm gonna take a clean brush and blend this out on the edges. I don't wanna take the brush with the color on it because, girl, that's just gonna get everywhere and ain't nobody got the time, okay? And I did take my makeup wipe just to clean up underneath, but the next shade I am going into is this orange matte shade right here. And I am just going to pat this all over the lid in the middle. And then around it, I'm kind of going a little bit softer to help to blend it into the color that's there. Now, we was in the thick of summer, which we're getting out of it. But if we were, I would go in with a matte yellow that's on here. But I think instead, I'm going into this more matte pink down here. And I'm gonna put this on the inner tear duct area and blend it over into the orange shade. Not only am I blending it over into the orange shade, but I'm also kind of like blending it out in the skin area on the side too. And I did use flat paddle brushes for both of these shades. I'm going in with another clean brush and just gonna dust around the lighter color here before I move it over to the darker color because I don't want to bring any remnants of the dark color this way. My lashes are getting ready, so I'm gonna go ahead and put on a liner. This is my NYX Epic Ink Liner. I'm gonna do a wing today, I think. And I'm keeping my wing right on the corner so it doesn't close my eye up too much. I'm gonna hit it with some mascara to prep my lashes from my falsies and pop my falsies. Same old Ardell falsies I've been wearing like a maniac because apparently they are the only lashes available right now since I can't get enough. Child. I just don't know what it is about these lashes, y'all. They just give, baby. They just give. All right, so we got some colorful eyes today, and we are gonna go ahead into the face. So I am gonna start off with my primer. I'm gonna go in with a primer, and then we're gonna do a foundation. And this is actually for me more gonna be like my highlight and contour routine not necessarily for everyday, but more of an everyday type of situation, you know? I feel like recently I have for sure moved my makeup from being more dramatic to being more of an everyday vibe. So I like giving you guys routines that you really can incorporate into daily life versus I have a special occasion, you know, but still tweak it for the special occasions. I don't know, I just like to give you guys stuff that you can use regularly. So I am actually going to be using my Maybelline Super Stay foundation today. This is in 356 warm coconut. And I'm just gonna take my Revlon foundation brush and just start to work this into my skin. I feel like when you go into a brush or you use a brush for your foundation, it's easier for you to really build it up. Like you can get a lighter coverage with a brush, and then if you want more, you can go in deeper with it and just go in with multiple layers and stuff. So that's why I'm using a brush today. So if I want to build, I can build, but if I don't want to build, we have more of a lighter vibe. Lighter coverage vibe is what I mean. Now, if you are a person that wants to avoid less product on the face, like less product everywhere, you can really avoid the places where you're gonna go in hard with like a deeper concealer or contour color or a lighter concealer. So like under the eyes, around the face, like you can go lighter with your product so that you don't feel like you're just piling product on. But me personally, and from experience, I feel like when you do go in with a foundation underneath, even if it's light, it kind of helps the coverage of what's on top of it, because that's exactly what it is. It's the foundation, you know? So it helps whatever is on top to really stay strong. Like the foundation of a house. If there's no foundation to a house, your house gonna fall down. You know, so in hindsight, I take that tip back, girl. Put a little foundation underneath, you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's better to do your darker shade before your lighter shade, because I feel like you have more control over what happens when you do dark first. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and use my Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. This is in Dark Coffee. But the other option, you guys know where easy I always use is my Match Stick from Fenty Beauty. Now, if you're a beginner, I'm just gonna say it's a lot easier to blend out a stick than it is a cream. And I'm gonna show you an example like on my forehead, because of course with contouring, you want to shape the forehead, you want to shape the cheeks, and if you may, you can shape the nose. I feel like those are the main places. Sometimes people go in under here if you have like a double chin or you have extra whatever that you wanna, you know, real like suck it in. Some people go under here, but I just don't personally do that. But those are your areas. So for my forehead, I'm just gonna do a little bit along the forehead like that. Sometimes I go into right here, but I've kind of been getting away from doing that. I'm gonna put just a smidge right there. And then I'm gonna use this for my cheekbones. Not because you need to use two. I just want to show you guys the difference between blending out a cream type of product versus using that stick. When you're doing your cheekbones, don't bring it all the way down here, because then you're gonna make your face look more short. You'll have more of an area like right in the middle of that dark color. What you're trying to do is lift your cheekbones. So you wanna kind of bring it like right along the cheekbones, because you're trying to create an effect that is higher than what it actually is. So I would even say not even right here, because it's gonna move that way anyway. Focus it like right underneath the cheekbone. I like to use to blend out my contour. I've been using this Rare Beauty brush. It looks like this. Don't mind the fact that it's dirty, sis. It's only been on my face. And I'm gonna start to blend out the Match Stick first. Now the reason that I say for beginners, you probably should use the Match Stick or a stick type of product to sculpt out is because it's already where it's supposed to be. When you start to blend it out, liquid or cream, something more looser, is more likely to move around. You know, it's more likely to move in places where you might not necessarily want it to be, and that's not what we want. I feel like when you do a stick, it's more of a stiffer product to the point where it's easier to keep it where it needs to be. I don't know if that making sense, but you know. So with this cream product, As you can already see, it starts to spread. I feel like this spreads less. If you already noticed, look how it's already spreading. You know, we're not completely worried about it because we know we're gonna go into a lighter concealer here, but you don't wanna move it too far off where we want it. And then on this side, I am actually going to use the Fenty one and blend that out. And you can already see it's not like moving in areas where we didn't put it. That's why I recommend for beginners going in with a stick versus using loose concealer. But the point of this, y'all, is to move this in this area, but you kind of want to move upwards. You don't want to move this shade down. Kind of want to push it up into the face versus moving it down, because we want to give the illusion of higher cheekbones. I am going to go ahead and make sure these lines are a little bit more blended. So I'm going into my foundation brush that still has my foundation in it, and going around that deeper shade just to get the blend that I want and make sure that color has stayed where I wanted it to stay. And also notice we're not using shades that are super dark. I would say use a shade that maybe is 2 to 3 shades darker than you versus, you know, something super dark that's gonna give you more of a dramatic look. I'm also gonna use this for my nose as well. Now I am a 2 lines down the nose type of chick, but you also can actually take a brush and apply it like that as well, instead of actually drawing it, because I feel like for beginners that might be better. That way you're not applying more product than you want to put on your nose. And then another easy thing you can do is take your foundation brush and just start to buff around and on top of that. And then it will like naturally start to fade those lines as well. This is a good thing that I do sometimes that really helps to blend those out and you're not just, you know, looking crazy. It just gives you that natural contour. So that's about all I want to do there. Now I'm about to go ahead and highlight. Y'all have seen me highlight and contour like a million times, but I just wanted to be a little bit more specific with you guys today. So I am going to use my Amande from NARS. Matter of fact, this is turning into a drugstore look. So we're not going to use Amande. We're going to use a drugstore concealer. Since we started off with Maybelline, we might as well continue with it. So my main shade is going to be Cafe. This is 50 Cafe in the Fit Me Concealer. And I am gonna focus this right underneath my eye. I am gonna push this a little bit towards my nose, because for me that helps create that more contoured, slender nose look. Y'all, I'm sure have been seeing the trends of putting your concealer high here. So we're gonna do a little bit of that as well. I am going to go ahead and put it down my nose. This might be different depending on what the shape of your nose looks like. And then I start to like kind of taper it upwards right here, because I always have issues blending that area with my brows being right there. But it's a problem that I willingly accept because the brows gotta go first. I've talked about before that I feel like I have issues blending my forehead out sometimes. So I just put a little there and start to kind of like blend it out like that. I will go all the way around my nose and accentuate with a dot on my chin. And that is all the highlighting that I do. I may go in a moment and add like a lighter color to blend out, but this is the vibe. If you're worried about coverage and you want it to be super bright, give it about a minute or 2, because it will start to blend out way more seamlessly, way more coverage, way easier, I feel like, to get the coverage that you want as you let it sit and get thicker. But on this side, I'm just about to go ahead and blend it out with my sponge. Your sponge does need to be damp. I always forget that because I feel like it's common sense, but I haven't realized it's not. I don't think it is. So I'm gonna start to blend it out. This shade will start to get right there in that middle part. And then up here, you kind of wanna blend upwards like so. You wanna blend up, but you also don't want to bring this down too far, because then that kind of gets rid of the vibe that you were trying to create with lifting that cheekbone. I'm gonna go ahead around my lip and just pat it in. You don't wanna do a lot of sweeping because that removes the product. You just kind of want to pat and blend around it. That way it also stays where you put it and not like starts to bleed out like we were talking about over here. Just continuing to blend out and patting it into the skin and moving it around. On my nose, usually I will just pat right over the concealer. It's up to you if you want to use like a smaller brush, like I said, for the contour, just to make it easy. But the nose always needs a little extra attention, I would say. Just because it's such a smaller area, so I'm just using the brush that I had my contour on and just going around that lighter shade to make sure I'm still creating that vibe that I created with the contour. And a lot of people bring their contour from their brows down. I'm not a huge like advocate of that. I do it sometimes, but then other times I don't, and I feel like it looks fine. So to each their own. Again, we're not bringing this out down too far that way, kind of keeping it there so that we continue to have that cheekbone like this. If we bring this too far, it's like our cheekbone starts to move, the illusion that we're trying to create, and we want to keep it there. Do you see how this contour created that? But it's still a very soft contour vibe, you know? It doesn't give too much. It doesn't give harsh, dark contour, super light highlight. It gives more of a natural vibe, and that's what we want, especially for every day. Some people will go in and they'll contour around the chin and they'll do extra stuff and just and I just feel like that's just not the vibe for realistic makeup. You know, like I said, I like to provide makeup for you guys that looks more like an everyday situation. Now, one thing I will not recommend is putting lighter concealer down here, especially for beginners. I feel like that is just a recipe for disaster, and that also helps to create like flashback when you take pictures. But one thing that you guys have always seen me do is take my foundation brush that still kind of has the remnants of my foundation on it and kind of buff all the way around where the lighter concealer meets the darker shade. And I feel like this is super important because it helps with blendability, and it kind of just helps to marry everything together, all the work that you did. And I also like to take this to make sure I create kind of like a line with my foundation underneath my contour, because I feel like that really helps to create that, you know, that sucked in look. Doing that with a foundation or remnants of the foundation versus a concealer is a whole lot better. Now it's all about setting the face. Setting is important, I feel like, when you're highlighting and contouring, because it really can, you know, solidify where your brightness is, where your darker shades are. So I'm gonna take my Laura Mercier translucent and same old. And first, I'm making sure I don't have any creases underneath my eyes. I'm gonna dip into my powder per usual, put that on my hand, and then just start to press into my face. Now, especially for daily basis or normal activities, definitely not gonna be doing any type of baking. I like to just press the powder into my lighter areas, and I'm also making sure, still how we blended out the concealer, I'm making sure that powder is staying where that concealer is and not pushing it out, because that's another way to kind of like distort the face. But I just like to just pat it in there, and this is only in my lighter areas. If you're particular, you can do this nose part with a more skinnier brush or whatever to make it better for you, but I'm lazy, so I don't do that. And then I take my skin tone powder and I use a bigger brush to just dust my entire face. Y'all know, y'all have seen me do this a million times, but the purpose is to just make sure everything is mattified. And after experience, I also would not recommend taking the powder and putting it here to highlight that, because that's another way to create flashback. I wouldn't do it. I would just make sure everything is nice and blended together and you're good to go. And the last step for highlighting and contour, going for a more softer everyday highlight and contour, is your bronzer. Now, everyone uses different bronzers. I feel like there are lighter bronzers, there are darker, deeper bronzers. You guys know the main ones that I use is my Fenty Beauty Sunstalker Cocoa Naughty. And then I also use my Mented ones, which I don't see. Oh, there it is. I use my Mented bronzer as well, but my Mented bronzer is deeper than the Fenty Beauty one. I feel like Fenty Beauty is more of an everyday, let me add a little bit of bronze, and this is like a oh, I really want to sculpt it out. Oh, you need to see this skin glistening, you know, because this one also has some reflex in it as well. This one's matte. So I'm gonna take a brush. It's a bigger brush, but it is a tapered type of brush. I'm gonna dip into my Mented with strokes going down on my forehead. I'm just gonna go into my bronzer. Don't mind my hair, y'all. I'm trying to be cute and do the makeup at the same time, child. Don't always work out. But I'm just kind of going downwards just to continue to create that sculpt of the forehead. And then on the cheeks, I do the same thing, but I move inwards. And of course, I feel like if you don't want to do all these steps, cool. You can do either or. You can just do the bronzer, but I say, if you're gonna do the cream, do the bronzer on top of that. Because not only do you want to do bronzer instead of a contour powder, because that's going to make it softer, but the point of going in with, you know, the cream product and then the powder on top is to protect the cream and make it last longer. So if you're gonna go with the cream, definitely do the bronzer. But if you don't want to do the cream, just do the bronzer. I would say don't just do the cream concealer by itself. Then of course, going into my nose contour, I'm gonna tap it all and with circular motions, just start to kind of buff out around it. We're kind of setting that liquid underneath. Now I personally feel like highlighter and blush works into the highlight and contour look, so we're gonna do both of those. I'm using my Revlon blush. This is in Hot Cheeks. I always do my blush with a brush that kind of looks similar to this. It's fluffy, but it's a small one. And I'm gonna dip into my blush, and you always want to put your blush on the apples of your cheeks, but you want to go up. I feel like if you want to make your face, okay, the point of highlight and contour is to accentuate them cheekbones. If you want to continue to do that, put it, smile, put it here, of course, and then move it up, kind of like a highlighter in a way. You don't want to start to just like put it all in this area like some people do, because that's when things start going awry, and that's not what we want. So I would say go up with your blush, because that further emphasizes that cheekbone, you know, highlight situation. Look at me giving blush advice. I'm so proud. I used to hate blush. And the thing that I love about this blush in particular is it has like gold reflex in it, so it low-key gives highlighter vibes too. I'm putting some of the excess over my nose because that is a thing for me that I've been loving to do. And that's it. We don't want a blush that's too pigmented, too much. We want to be able to see it, but also not see it. Blush is something you always want to be careful with, because that is something that if you go in too hard with, is real hard to fix. But if you do end up needing to fix it, I would just say just take your sponge, preferably where you had your powder on it, and just blot over it. Kind of helps to take away some of that pigmentation and will calm the face down a little bit. BH Cosmetics does have another palette. This is their Tulum bronzer and highlighter palette. I'm gonna take this highlighter here, which is a beautiful gold shade, and I'm going to highlight my nose. I always do the little, you know, button nose situation. And then I also do my bridge of my nose. I've been loving doing this with a blending brush because it kind of helps it to not be super harsh and helps to blend while you apply. I'll hit right above my lip. And then with a smaller brush, kind of similar to the one that we use for blush, I go in to really focus on the cheekbone, baby. Since the point, I feel like, of a lot of the highlighting and contour when it comes to the cheeks is to really lift that cheekbone up, and this just highlights it and puts it on display. So to finish off the look, I'm going into my e.l.f. by Tiana Major 9 liner. And then I'm going into my Revlon cream lipstick and Bare It All. And this is our finished look. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in. I feel like this highlight and contour look is super chill. It's less like harsh, but it still gives you highlight and contour vibes, but it's perfect for like an everyday type of situation. And let's go ahead and wrap this video up. All right, my loves, that wraps up today's video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it and learned a few tips, or if you didn't learn nothing, it was fun just to kick back and do some makeup. If you like this video, please give me a big thumbs up. Comment below, let me know what you thought of the video. Also, make sure that you hit subscribe below if you have not yet. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.